What comes to mind when you think of space? Likely, you envision a sky dotted with twinkling stars against a black backdrop. This is the view we've all seen when we gaze up at night, encapsulating our perception of space. But this is merely one viewpoint, our perspective from the tiny speck we call Earth, orbiting the sun within the Milky Way. Even our science fiction narratives, like Star Trek and Mass Effect, are set within our single galaxy, reinforcing the idea that space is always filled with stars. However, the reality is that most of space is vast, dark emptiness. From many points in space, you're so far from anything else that even the nearest galaxy isn't visible, let alone the dazzling array of stars it contains. While it's possible to see the closest galaxy, Andromeda, with the naked eye from Earth, this is due to our extremely close proximity. To put this into perspective, you could fit about 20,000 Earths between our planet and Venus, our closest neighbor. But when considering the distance between the Milky Way and Andromeda, it's staggering. About 25 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. Though the Milky Way and Andromeda are on a collision course and are already incredibly close by cosmic standards, Andromeda still appears as a faint speck in the sky. Beyond our small cluster, there is an expanse of nothingness. If we artificially increase the brightness of galaxies, we see that at a scale moving 1,000,000 times the speed of light, any object more than a dot in the simulation is something we can barely see with the naked eye. When this artificial brightness is removed, what remains is the reality. Millions of years of travel at light speed would reveal no stars, no galaxies, just a void of black emptiness. Andromeda, or M31 for those in the know, is composed of roughly 1 trillion stars. That's 1,000 billion. If you tried to count all those stars, one per second, it would take you, well, let's just say you'd need a few lifetimes. At the heart of Andromeda lies a supermassive black hole. Think of it as the galaxy's bouncer, making sure no unwanted cosmic riffraff gets in. It's about 100 million times the mass of our sun. That's like 1 billion rubber duckies. Okay, maybe that's not a helpful comparison, but you get the idea. It's big, really big. Now, Andromeda isn't just a pretty face in the sky. It has a dark side too. Dark matter, to be precise. About 90% of Andromeda's mass is made up of dark matter. Imagine trying to find your keys in the dark, except your keys are invisible, and you don't even know what they look like. That's dark matter for you. It's the universe's ultimate game of hide and seek, and trust me, it's winning. You might wonder, can we see Andromeda with the naked eye? Absolutely. On a clear night, away from city lights, Andromeda appears as a faint, fuzzy patch in the sky. It's like the universe's way of giving us a tiny sneak peek, kind of like when you catch a glimpse of your neighbor's TV through their window. You can't see the details, but you know something cool is happening over there. Here's a fun fact. In about 4.5 billion years, Andromeda and the Milky Way are going to collide. Don't worry, you won't need to duck. It's a cosmic dance, really, and galaxies have been doing it for eons. When they finally meet, it'll be the most epic slow dance ever. Think of it as the universe's ultimate mashup. We're calling it Milkomeda, or Andromilky. Still working on the name. Suggestions are welcome. Andromeda is also home to a plethora of fascinating star systems and exoplanets. It's like a giant cosmic theme park, each star system offering a unique ride. Fancy a trip to the binary star system? It's a 2-for-1 deal. Or how about exploring potential habitable zones where alien life might exist. Just remember, if you meet any aliens, don't make any jokes about probing. It's a touchy subject. Speaking of aliens, with 1 trillion stars, Andromeda must be teeming with planets. Statistically, it's likely some of these planets are in the habitable zone. So, if there are any extraterrestrials tuning in, we come in peace. And we have snacks. But seriously, if you've got faster than light travel, hit us up.
What would you see if we were to fall into Mercury? First, let's set the scene. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, so you can bet it's one hot ticket. With temperatures soaring up to 800 degrees during the day and plummeting to minus 290 degrees at night, it's a place of extreme contrasts, kind of like stepping out of a sauna into a freezer, but, a lot more extreme. As you begin your descent towards Mercury, you might notice the landscape below. It's a lot like our moon, craters, ridges, and all. In fact, it's the most cratered planet in the solar system. Think of it as a planetary Swiss cheese. But don't get too close to those craters just yet. We've got a lot more to cover. Mercury doesn't have much of an atmosphere to cushion your fall, so prepare for a rough landing. And by not much, I mean practically none. The exosphere, made up of atoms blasted off its surface by the solar wind, is so thin that it wouldn't even slow you down. It's like falling straight into a brick wall, except the brick wall is also extremely hot. As you get closer, you'd start feeling the heat, literally. The sun looms 3 times larger in Mercury's sky than it does from Earth, and its rays are 7 times more intense. You'd be sunburned faster than you can say SPF 1000. On Mercury, the concept of sunscreen is more like sun-sorry, you're toast. But let's not forget the nighttime. If you're unlucky enough to fall into the night side of Mercury, you'd go from crispy to frosty in no time. Mercury's lack of atmosphere means there's nothing to trap the heat, so it escapes rapidly, leaving the surface bitterly cold. It's the ultimate test for your thermal wear. Hot during the day, freezing at night. Mercury is the universe's most brutal game of hot potato. Speaking of hot spots, one of the most interesting features on Mercury is the Caloris Basin, a giant impact crater over 1,550 kilometers in diameter. If you were to land here, you'd be in one of the hottest regions on the planet. The name Caloris literally means heat, and it's not just for show. It's like Mercury's version of a tropical resort, minus the water, palm trees, and any sign of life. Now you might be thinking, isn't Mercury just a boring, rocky planet? Well, not quite. Mercury has a magnetic field, about 1% the strength of Earth's. So, if you had a compass, it would sort of work. Just imagine trying to use it while being roasted alive. Fun times, right? Let's also not forget the ice. Yes, you heard me right. Ice. Despite being so close to the sun, Mercury has water ice in permanently shadowed craters at its poles. These craters never see sunlight, making them some of the coldest spots in the solar system. So, if you were lucky, or unlucky, enough to land in one, you'd go from one of the hottest places to one of the coldest in a matter of steps. So, how would you survive falling into Mercury? Short answer, you wouldn't. But hey, let's not be too grim. Imagine you had a super suit that could withstand extreme temperatures, lack of atmosphere, and solar radiation. Even then, you'd still have to deal with constant bombardment from micrometeoroids. It's like a never-ending dodgeball game, but the balls are tiny, fast-moving space rocks. If, by some miracle, you could explore Mercury, you'd have the adventure of a lifetime. From observing the mysterious hollows, bright, shallow depressions scattered across the surface, to witnessing the double sunrises and sunsets caused by Mercury's unique rotational dynamics, it would be a trip like no other. So, there you have it. Falling into Mercury would be an extreme, fiery, and frosty adventure all rolled into one. While we wouldn't recommend booking a vacation there anytime soon, it's fascinating to imagine the challenges and wonders of our smallest planetary neighbor. Venus, you're up next. First things first, Venus is often called Earth's twin because of its similar size and composition. But don't let that fool you. Venus is like Earth's evil twin, who likes to crank up the heat and pressure. It's the hottest planet in our solar system, with surface temperatures that can melt lead, around 475 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than your favorite pizza oven, and trust me, there's no cheese that can withstand that. As you begin your descent into Venus, the first thing you'll encounter is its thick, toxic atmosphere. Composed mainly of carbon dioxide with clouds of sulfuric acid, it's not exactly a breath of fresh air. Imagine stepping into a sauna, but instead of steam, it's filled with toxic gases that smell like rotten eggs. Lovely, right? And let's talk about the pressure. Venus's surface pressure is about 92 times that of Earth's. It's like being 3,000 feet underwater. So if you're planning a trip, make sure your suit is pressure-proof. Otherwise, you'd be flatter than a pancake in no time, and not the delicious kind with syrup. Now, falling through those sulfuric acid clouds isn't a gentle glide. It's more like a free fall through a car wash that's set to destroy. Your spacecraft would need to be tougher than a tank to survive the trip. And let's be honest, you'd need nerves of steel, or at least a really good playlist to keep your spirits up. As you get closer to the surface, you might start noticing the landscape. Venus is covered with vast plains, highland regions, and volcanic features. In fact, Venus has more volcanoes than any other planet in the solar system. Some scientists believe there might even be active ones. So, think of it as a giant, extremely hostile volcanic park. A lava lamp gone wild. And don't forget the winds. Venus's upper atmosphere has super fast winds that can reach speeds of up to 224 miles per hour, 360 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Category 5 hurricane. Fortunately, these winds slow down significantly near the surface, so at least you won't be blown away while you're being cooked and crushed. But let's say, by some miracle, you survive the fall. You step out onto the surface and, surprise, it's dark and eerily silent. The thick atmosphere filters the sunlight, creating a perpetual twilight. It's like living in a smoky bar, minus the jukebox and questionable nachos. Venus also has a phenomenon called retrograde rotation. It rotates in the opposite direction to most planets, including Earth. So, on Venus, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. But don't get too excited about the sunsets. One day on Venus lasts 243 Earth days. That's a very long time to wait for happy hour. Surviving on Venus would be the ultimate challenge. Between the crushing pressure, scorching heat, and toxic atmosphere, it's like the universe's toughest boot camp. If you think your Monday mornings are rough, try waking up on Venus. But if you had a supersuit, one that's heat resistant, pressure resistant, and acid proof, you could be the ultimate space explorer. You'd have front row seats to study some of the most extreme conditions in our solar system. Just remember to pack a very good air conditioner and plenty of snacks, preferably ones that don't melt. Falling into Venus would be a journey like no other. It's a place of extremes, full of challenges and wonders that push the boundaries of what we can endure. While it's not exactly a vacation spot, Venus reminds us of the incredible diversity and mystery of our solar system. The International Space Station orbits Earth at an altitude of about 250 miles. That's roughly 10 times higher than the cruising altitude of a commercial jet. So, jumping from here isn't just skydiving, it's space diving. Imagine stepping out of the ISS. You're now in microgravity, experiencing free fall, which feels like floating. Initially, you wouldn't feel much different from an astronaut on a spacewalk. But here's where things get interesting. As you descend, you'll start to enter the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere. The first significant layer you'll encounter is the thermosphere, which begins around 53 miles up. In the thermosphere, temperatures can soar to 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit. But don't worry about getting a tan just yet. The air is so thin, you wouldn't feel the heat like you do on the surface. Moving into the mesosphere, you'll start to feel the effects of atmospheric drag. This layer extends from about 31 miles to 53 miles above Earth. Here, temperatures drop drastically, and you'll experience cooling. So, it's a bit like going from a sauna to a freezer. Your speed, which could be over 17,500 miles per hour, initially, will start to decrease due to this drag. Now let's talk re-entry. As you hit the denser parts of the atmosphere, particularly the stratosphere, from about 6 miles to 31 miles above the Earth, the friction between your body and air molecules generates extreme heat. We're talking thousands of degrees. Without a protective heat shield, like those used on spacecraft, you would burn up from this intense heat. Picture a meteor streaking through the sky, bright and fiery. That would be you. Let's say, for the sake of this wild adventure, you had some sort of futuristic heat-resistant suit. You'd then face rapid deceleration. The G-forces experienced during this phase could be immense, potentially lethal. Fighter pilots and astronauts train extensively to handle high G-forces, and even they can only tolerate so much. You, my brave jumper, would likely experience forces well beyond human endurance. If you somehow survive the heat and G-forces, you'd then face the challenge of terminal velocity, the constant speed you reach when the force of gravity is balanced by the drag of the atmosphere. For a human, this is around 200 kilometers per hour, 120 miles per hour, in a stable freefall position. But given the conditions, your descent might be anything but stable. To safely land, you'd need a parachute to slow you down to a survivable speed. But deploying a parachute at such high speeds and altitudes would be tricky. Even if you managed it, you'd need to steer it skillfully to avoid dangerous terrain or water. Let's face it, you'd have to be the luckiest person alive to pull this off without a hitch. But let's dream big. Imagine you had advanced technology, like an exosuit with built-in heat shields, G-force dampeners, and an advanced parachute system. You might just make it to the ground in one piece. You'd be the first human to survive a jump from space, earning a place in the record books and probably a few movie deals. Mars, our red neighbor, is about half the size of Earth with a very thin atmosphere. It's a fascinating place with its own unique challenges. Imagine standing at the hatch of your spacecraft, staring down at the rusty, dusty Martian landscape. Ready? Let's jump. As you begin your descent, you'll first pass through the exosphere, Mars' outermost layer, where the atmosphere is extremely thin. You wouldn't feel much here, but you'd be speeding up as gravity pulls you towards the surface. Mars's gravity is about 38% that of Earth's, so you'd experience a gentler pull, but you'd still accelerate pretty quickly. Entering the thermosphere, you might start to feel a little warmth, but nothing compared to Earth's re-entry heat. Mars's thin atmosphere means less friction, so less heat buildup. You won't be turning into a shooting star just yet. As you fall deeper, you'd enter the mesosphere. Mars's atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide, and you'd start to feel some drag, slowing you down. The thin air means it's more like falling through a very high-altitude flight on Earth. No need for marshmallows. No fireball here. Now, let's talk landing. Mars's surface is a mix of smooth plains, gigantic volcanoes, and deep canyons. If you're not careful, you might land in Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system, or Valles Marineris, a canyon system that dwarfs the Grand Canyon. Aim for a smooth spot if you can. To survive the landing, you'll need a parachute. But here's the catch. Because of the thin atmosphere, a regular parachute won't do. You'd need something larger and stronger to slow you down enough for a soft landing. Think of it as a giant Martian umbrella. Let's say you've got your supersized parachute deployed. You'd still be descending pretty fast, so you'd need retro rockets or an airbag system to cushion your landing. The Mars rovers use these techniques, and trust me, you'll want them too. All right, you've just landed safely on the Martian surface. You step out, and the first thing you notice is the cold. Mars is chilly, with average temperatures around 60 degrees Celsius. It's like Antarctica on a really bad day, so bring a warm suit. Breathing on Mars? Not an option. The atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, so you'll need a reliable oxygen supply. Forget about taking a deep breath of fresh air. It's more like, where's my next breath of air? Despite the challenges, standing on Mars would be an incredible experience. The sky has a pinkish hue during the day, and you might witness stunning sunsets with colors you've never seen on Earth. And the low gravity? It means you can jump higher and carry more weight with less effort. Talk about a Martian workout.
Jupiter is a fascinating planet with many intriguing features. Here are some cool facts about Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, with a diameter of about 142,984 kilometers. It's so big that all the other planets in the solar system could fit inside it. Jupiter has a gigantic storm called the Great Red Spot, which is larger than Earth. This storm has been raging for at least 400 years and possibly much longer. Despite its massive size, Jupiter has a very short day. It completes one rotation in just about 10 hours, which is the fastest of all the solar system's planets. Jupiter is a gas giant, primarily composed of hydrogen and helium. It doesn't have a solid surface like Earth, but it may have a small, rocky core. Jupiter has the strongest magnetic field of any planet in the solar system, about 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. This field traps charged particles and creates intense radiation belts around the planet. Jupiter has at least 79 known moons, including the 4 large Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, even bigger than Mercury. While not as prominent as Saturn, Jupiter has a faint ring system composed mostly of dust particles from its moons and small impacts. Join us in our next episode. We will be talking about Jupiter and the other planets inside of our solar system, plus more. All right, y'all, no more spoilers. Watch the next episode. Darius out. Are you a fan of video games? Check out our channel today. We have videos on GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption, Black Ops 6, Fortnite, so much more. All right, I'm going for real this time. Take it easy.